Hey, hello everybody, and welcome to what my neighbour over there is calling Landyland. By now you'll have realised that this is a voiceover, hopefully, and I've lost my soundtrack. I'm really sorry about that, but I want to tell you about what it's like to own three quite special Land Rovers. I've had a problem with my editing software, and it's not bringing over the sound clips with the video clips, so I've got zero sound on the videos. I'm really sorry about that. Hopefully I'll get it fixed before the next vid, but please bear with me for this short video. What I want to tell you about is these three Land Rovers. I'm leaning on Sandy, who is the first Land Rover that I bought out of these three, and all three of them have been rebuilt by me. Sandy is a 3.3 litre Holden powered Land Rover with a fairy overdrive. Sandy's in great condition underneath her beaten and bashed skin and is my daily get around vehicle. Down the back I've got Larissa. Larissa's the lockdown Landy, and Larissa arrived at my place at 17 minutes to midnight on the eve of the first lockdown, and it was rebuilding Larissa that kept me safe and sound and sane all during the 1 month that we were locked up and not allowed to leave our own place. Like I said, please excuse the random gesticulations because what I'm saying now doesn't go with the video particularly well. But Larissa, the blue and white one, has been fully rebuilt also, but Larissa got the body work done. And at the back we've got Brutus. Brutus is my stage one. I'm really pleased that I've managed to get my hands on a stage one. I've always wanted one, and it's now come to pass that I've found that Brutus was originally owned by the New Zealand police and was an incident vehicle on 90 Mile Beach. How did I find that out? Well, one of the comments on one of my earlier videos was from a guy who worked as an engineer in the plant that built them. And when I said that this one had a galvanized chassis and it appeared to be galvanized from new, that instantly rang bells with him, and he realized that what I'd got was one of the 5 that was built for the New Zealand police on 90 Mile Beach. I'm finding that a lot of the stuff underneath Brutus is heavily corroded, so I've spent a lot of time stripping things out and sandblasting them over the last few days. It doesn't make good video. It's not worth showing hours and hours of stripping and sandblasting, but hopefully I'll get everything sorted very soon and I'll be able to present my next video in full glorious surround sound. Now, after spending probably the last 12 months doing nothing but restoring Land Rovers, I've found a few tools that I couldn't do without. One of them is my impact rattle gun. I really enjoy being able to use a battery powered cordless rattle gun rather than an air powered one, getting the hose tangled around in everything, having to have the compressor running all the time. It's nice to have a battery powered one that I can just pick up when I need it. Now, with the rattle gun there are certain things you need, and that's a set of impact sockets. Using ordinary sockets on a rattle gun will kill them in no time. So the smaller ones will split, the big ones will mushroom out. So I've bought this. Normally a kit like this would be 150 New Zealand dollars, but I've been keeping an eye on Trade Me, an online selling site, and some of the people who trade on there sell things at dollar reserve. I've been keeping an eye on these for a while, and I found that these were closing in under 45 minutes and nobody had bidded on them. So I waited, and 43 minutes later I was in there hoping to put on just one bid and get them for $1. But we had a little bit of a bidding war between me and another guy, and the price went up to $15. I couldn't believe that I got a $150 set of impact sockets for $15 plus the cost of getting them to me. Another thing that I've recently bought is this. You've probably heard of Neverseas or Copper Coat. Well, both of those have got really expensive over the years, and I managed to find this one, which comes from Mother England, and it's the same thing. It's full of copper and nickel and molybdenum. It's kind of a grease, but not. And this coating can go on all my bushes, on all my suspension bolts, and anything else that will be in arduous conditions. And 5 or 10 or 15 years down the track, I want to be able to get things undone again. So this is something that should go on wheel nuts as a matter of course, but I use it on anything that's below the sill line of a vehicle, and you should too. Great stuff. This I also got online. It was only $22. Great price for such a good product, and a tub of this will last me for years. I'm just going to apologize again that this voice track in no way matches what I'm doing online on the video. It's unfortunate, but it's the only way I can get a video out today. So this is what I've been doing over the last 4 or 5 days. Getting this front axle out, degreasing it, washing it, sandblasting it, and generally getting it ready to do any mechanical work that I'll have to do. You can see that it's leaking oil out of the pinion seal, so that's the first job, the pinion seal. And then I'll probably put it back in and run it and just see how the rest of it goes before I start pulling it apart. These springs aren't from my vehicle. These springs I bought for a dozen of beer off another Land Rover owner, and they're going in because the springs that I'm taking out are just too far gone thanks to the aggressive salt of living its working life on a beach. You'll see that galvanized pipe that I've pressed over the original steering arm. That's because being at the front of the vehicle and low down, they're very vulnerable and they're easily bent. I haven't done the tie rod yet, but that's the next job. I might show you that in the next video. But basically what I've done is doubled the wall thickness of the steering arm. I've got myself a new set of suspension bushes that are going to go into these once I've stripped them down and rebuilt them. The shock absorbers looked as though they were in a bit of a state, but after a sandblast and a respray, they've come up nicely, and I don't think I'll even need to replace them. The ball joints seem good, but I'm going to wait until I get the thing on its wheels, take it for a drive, and I'll give it my own little safety check and decide then whether I need to replace them or not. There isn't much body rust to deal with. This footwell is about all I've got. Now here comes another segment of me telling you something and no sound to go with it. So basically what I'm going to chat to you about here is my thoughts on the stage 1. I always imagined that stage 1 was stage 1 of the transition from the series Land Rover to the Defender, but I'm totally wrong. Funnily enough, it was to do with a handout from Margaret Thatcher. The British Motor Corporation, BMC, were given £80 million from the Thatcher government to boost their export potential, and the stage 1 was the vehicle that they created using stage 1 of that 80 million pound injection. Unfortunately, it all came a bit too late. The Japanese had already vastly overtaken the British with the technology of their four-wheel drives, such as the Nissan Patrol and the Toyota Land Cruiser. But it did mean that people in South Africa, Australia and New Zealand ended up with a damn good Landy. As I mentioned earlier, this one was built for the New Zealand Police Force as an incident vehicle on 90 Mile Beach. Back in 1984, police cars in New Zealand were a light grey with just a police sticker on the door, so I imagine that something that was off-white with a police sticker on the door was quite within their budget. Well, I promise next video is going to be a lot better. I have to solve this problem. I don't know what the problem is. I'll make every effort to get it sorted in time for the next video at the end of this week.